Right, let's dive straight into this explainer and unpack the tumultuous, completely polarizing, and honestly fascinating journey of roast comedy in India. We're going to explore how a format that's literally based entirely on throwing insults became one of the most consumed, yet fiercely debated forms of entertainment in the whole country. From massive stadium events down to the smartphone screen in your hand, the evolution of this comedy style is just a perfect lens to view the modern clash between free expression and cultural boundaries.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the origins of the roast, then hit the AIB knockout phenomenon, YouTube's roasting boom, toxicity and the pushback, and finally, the fine line of offense.
To really understand the internet drama of today, we've got to look back first. Section 1. Origins of the roast, from New York to the Hindi heartland.
Let's start with the absolute basics. What exactly is a roast? Well, roast comedy is a specific form of insult comedy, where a guest, who we call the roastee, is publicly mocked by a roast master. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that a roast isn't just a string of random mean insults, right? It's a highly structured art form. Historically, it was actually designed to either handle hecklers in a loud crowd or, ironically, to honor a highly respected guest through mockery.
Now this is where it gets super fascinating, looking at the cultural crossover. While modern televised roasts, as we know them, kicked off in the 1950s at the private New York Friars Club, India actually has its own deeply embedded historical tradition of insult comedy. In the Hindi heartland, traditional wedding celebrations feature what are called gari songs. These are basically songs packed with bawdy lyrics and insults specifically directed at a groom's family and sung mostly by women. It serves as this culturally accepted, safe space for societal critique and humor. So the whole concept of laughing at insults, it's actually not alien to India at all.
But why do we even laugh at being insulted in the first place? Well, this brilliantly illustrates Peter McGraw and Caleb Warren's benign violation theory. It gives us a really objective lens to figure out exactly why a joke is funny. For a joke to work, there has to be a violation of a norm, like, say, an insult. But critically, it must remain benign or harmless. You have to perceive both the violation and its harmlessness at the exact same time. Think of it like this. If someone trips and they're totally fine, it's a benign violation. We laugh. But if they trip and get seriously hurt, it instantly becomes a malign violation, and it's definitely not a joke anymore. Keep this framework in mind because it's going to be incredibly important as we look at what happened next.
Moving on to Section 2, the AIB knockout phenomenon, India's mainstream debut. Let's fast forward to 2015 for the first massive public test of this theory.
On January 28, 2015, the comedy collective All India Bachod, or AIB, completely shattered the barrier of safe, scripted TV humor. They recorded a live, unfiltered celebrity roast at the massive NSCI Dome in Mumbai. Hosted by Bollywood filmmaker Karan Johar, the event roasted actors Ranveer Singh and Arjun Kapoor. I mean, it was raw, it was incredibly bold, and AIB claimed it became the most shared video in the entire country in under 24 hours. The internet absolutely loved it. However, the cultural friction was immediate and intense. What was a fun, benign violation for millions of internet users was perceived as a deeply offensive, malign violation by others. There was severe backlash from religious groups, segments of Bollywood, and right-wing political activists. To put that into perspective, official FIRs, First Information Reports, were filed against 14 people under the Indian Penal Code. That included the comedians and literally even people just sitting in the audience. Ultimately, AIB pragmatically chose to pull the video by February 3rd. It was a massive, undeniable wake-up call regarding the legal and cultural limits of public humor in India.
Which brings us to Section 3, YouTube's roasting boom, from stages to screens. With the grand stage format now legally contested and deemed way too risky for mainstream platforms, the art of roasting didn't just die out. It quickly migrated to the unfiltered Wild West of YouTube.
If we take a quick look at this timeline, you can literally see how one single live event in 2015 sparked a decade-long cycle. By 2016, individual creators were roasting each other. Fast forward to 2020, and entire platforms were basically going to war. And by 2025, we're seeing the exact same legal pushback happen all over again. The format simply shifted from a big stage with a microphone to a teenager's bedroom with a webcam. To really wrap your head around the sheer unprecedented scale of this digital boom, just look at this number.
over 45.1 million subscribers. That massive audience belongs to Ajay Nagar, better known as Kerry Minotti. He transitioned from posting standard gaming commentary to roasting trending internet videos. His fast-paced delivery and absolutely savage comebacks resonated hugely with India's youth, turning him into the undisputed face of modern-day digital commentary and proving just how insanely lucrative the genre had become.
And Kerry Minotti definitely wasn't an isolated phenomenon. The whole creator ecosystem rapidly diversified. You had Nishay Malhan, known as Triggered Insan, reacting to cringe content. Slaypoint built a massive audience with completely clean, family-friendly meme humor. Angry Prash pioneered animated takedowns of fake gurus, protecting his identity while delivering really sharp critiques. Creators like Thugesh and Lakshay Chowdhury built huge communities just by calling out hypocrisy online. Roasting became a completely legitimate, highly varied digital career path.
But it wasn't all just harmless jokes. Section 4. Toxicity and the pushback. Blurring the lines. As the audience grew into the tens of millions, the pursuit of edgy, dark humor really began to blur the line between constructive roasting and outright cyberbullying. Around 2017 to 2019, heavily inspired by controversial Western creators like Leafy is Here, a pretty toxic subculture emerged in the Indian roasting scene. The roast was frequently being weaponized into a tool for harassment. Videos stopped being about constructive criticism and evolved into groupism, body shaming, and targeted attacks, very often directed at easy targets like smaller channels or female creators. This actually prompted a massive pushback from within the community itself, leading creators like Dank Rishu to launch the Content Chaukidar series to specifically expose the bullying and hypocrisy of other big roasters. This toxicity and internet tribalism really hit its peak during the massive 2020 clash between TikTok and YouTube. On one side, you had short-form creators like Amir Siddiqui representing TikTok. On the other, long-form commentary creators like Kerry Minotti defending YouTube. Kerry Minotti dropped a brutal roast of Siddiqui that became a national sensation literally overnight, completely breaking viewership records. But at the same time, it drew intense criticism from various communities who flagged the jokes as highly problematic and derogatory. Maintaining our objective lens here, we see that ultimately the platform itself had to step in. YouTube deleted the record-breaking video, citing clear violations of its harassment and cyberbullying policies. And man, this single action sparked a massive nationwide debate over censorship, platform power, and free speech. It even led Kerry Minotti to release a wildly viral track called Yalgar in response. The internet was completely, right down the middle, divided on where the boundaries of digital comedy should be drawn. So, let's fast forward to right now. Section 5. The fine line of offense. Where do we stand today? Let's examine how this ongoing tension is playing out in the present day.
It's crazy, but 10 years after the AIB knockout, history is essentially repeating itself. In 2025, on comedian Samay Raina's massively popular talent show, India's Got Latent, podcaster Ranveer Allabadia made a highly provocative, dark joke involving a contestant's parents. The backlash was incredibly swift. Celebrities like Shekhar Suman publicly condemned it, and multiple FIRs have already been lodged across different states under very serious sections of the law, carrying a potential 3 years in jail. The exact same outrage cycle has fired right back up.
The American humorist Irma Bomback really hit the nail on the head when she said, "Comedy is an incredibly delicate tightrope walk. There's a thin line separating laughter and pain. What serves as a harmless, benign violation for one person laughing in a comedy club might be a deeply maligned violation, causing genuine hurt for someone watching a 10-second clip on their phone miles away. The intent of the comedian and the actual perception of the audience, they're often entirely out of sync."
And closer to home, comedian Cyrus Brocha grounds this whole crazy saga in some really profound social commentary. He reminds us that in a country as culturally diverse, populous, and complex as India, navigating moral boundaries is just an incredibly difficult challenge for any artist. When you're dealing with over 1 billion people, concepts like tradition and culture mean vastly different things depending on exactly who you ask. So creating one universally accepted standard for comedy, it's pretty much impossible. So as we wrap up this explainer on the wildly unpredictable evolution of Indian roast comedy, from traditional wedding songs to massive stadiums to YouTube beefs and straight into the courtrooms, I want to leave you with this final thought. In this inevitable, ongoing clash between a creator's right to free expression and a society's cultural sensitivity, where is your personal boundary for offense? Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning what makes you laugh. Right